we have Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner Nelson has a bachelor's degree in accounting from San Agustin University, leadership training certificates from the Henry Toll Fellowship and Eastern Leadership Academy, respectively, and a certificate in driving government performance from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, a certificate in alternate dispute resolution from Notre Dame University, and he's a John Maxwell certified speaker. As you can tell this morning, he's a wonderful speaker and teacher, trainer, and coach. He also holds certificates in mediation, arbitration, hearing administration, and also he's a wonderful calypso dancer, so welcome. With us today, we also have a batter up. Thank you, Aníbal, for being here. Dr. Machiavelli couldn't make it today, so Aníbal is here representing the university and the extension system. He's an agricultural extension agent and the assistant dean of extension of the College of Agriculture and Science at the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez. That's the land-grant university in Puerto Rico. Dr. Reese has 12 years of experience working with research and outreach. His areas of interest are beef, dairy cattle, sustainable agriculture, ecological intelligence. As assistant dean, he worked daily with educational programs of extension, evaluating, developing, and implementing different approaches and methodologies in non-formal education. He's also the creator and editor of the extension magazine Revista SEA, which is in Spanish. It's a pretty good resource. Please help me welcome Dr. Aníbal Ruiz. And finally, we have Mr. Stafford Crossman, a long member of our partnerships. He's almost like family to a lot of our employees there in USVI. Stafford Crossman is the Extension Assistant Professor and Associate Director of the Cooperative Extension Service at the University of Virgin Islands School of Agriculture. He began his career at the University of Virgin Islands as a research specialist at the Agricultural Experimental Station before transferring to the Cooperative Extension Service as Program Supervisor. Mr. Crossman has also served as Deputy Commissioner at the Virgin Islands Department of Agriculture, and his areas of specialty include crop production, focusing on vegetables, tropical fruits, and irrigation, and he's also a tropical certified arborist from the International Society of Arboriculture. Again, help me welcome Mr. Stafford Crossman. With that, we're going to go into a set of questions so you can learn about our challenges and opportunities, and then if there's any time, we can get additional questions from the participants today. So we're going to start with Secretary Beiró, Secretary Gonzalez. Ramon, what are the challenges in agriculture and or conservation and the obstacles to successfully overcoming the challenges in your region?
Well, there are so many challenges that we must address. Probably two of them are more important or challenges in the island's agriculture are probably labor shortages and climate, weather. We've been trying to address the changes in weather from the not only from the hurricane standpoint that we have to survive every season, but also on the rain patterns that have been changing in the island, the deep water shortages in some areas, and the improvements needed to the irrigation canals that we have in most of the island. We have some systems in the northwest coast and on the south coast, different irrigation systems that need to be improved just for the farmers to be able to keep farming those lands. It hardly rains on the south coast, rains in part of the year only, when we have all the hurricanes and waves coming through. That's our rainy season. The rest of the year, it doesn't rain. The first half of the year, it doesn't rain, so we must collect the water, improve those ponds or water collections, just to be able to keep farming those lands. And earlier I said one of the projects that we really need is to improve our irrigation systems by adding technology, probably 5G irrigation, so-called, because we need to improve the usage of water. That's our main concern on the south coast of the island.
For those of you that don't know, Puerto Rico has many humidic regimes. We go from 160 inches of rain in the north all the way to 30 inches in the south because of the mountain system on the top. So water in the south is critical, and how to take it from one region to the other is critical. St. Tom, U.S. Virgin Islands have a similar concern. They get about 30 to 45 inches of water in most of their islands. So, Commissioner Nelson, talking about challenges, I know climate change is a challenge for you. Anything to add on that particular front?
Yes, of course. Good morning again. It's water everywhere, not enough to drink. It's dry. Climate change, we're seeing the impact of climate change now. The cracking earth, you'll see big cracks in the ground. The water, when it does fall, most of it makes its way to the sea, of course, impacting the sea life, killing corals, etc. So it's very important that we do something about ponding. Most of the ponds, due to development, the water is not finding its way to the ponds, to the retention ponds. They're filled with silt, so we do have to clean them out. We do have to do more regulating enforcement as it relates to building permits and what's happening up on the northern hills, because as those people change landscapes and push over forestry, nothing is stopping the water from just planing across the region and making new grooves, and it's causing a detriment to our small island space. Challenges, of course, comes with resources, financial resources to be able to do this. Of course, getting certain machinery on islands is very also complicated, but we're committed to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you could expand, I think it's very critical for like island people. I think Guam deals with this too, of transportation of things and equipment and fencing and all that. Can you expand on that particular issue?
Yes, absolutely. So as you know, we're in Hurricane Alley. When hurricane hits or prior to, and we're trying to stock up, and lately it's been worse because there's scarcity. We can't get the ships to come to the islands. Right now, post-COVID, well, I can't even say post-COVID, it's not gone, but it's even more complicated. We have to order from manufacturers, we have to wait for things to be built, and then of course we have to wait for timing for them to get across to us. We're still in a different custom zone, so that might involve a little more expense for us in the islands. Many of you may not know this, but we're in the Jones Act. We're in a different custom zone than the rest of the United States, so that creates some challenges for us also. Of course, servicing equipment also is a challenge. When we purchase equipment, to get technicians in to service those equipment is also a challenge because we're here. Of course, we have good friends in Puerto Rico. We depend on Puerto Rico a lot, so we also need Puerto Rico to be up and accessible. So all of us are pretty much in the same situation. We're just smaller islands, so the impact is more intense.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. I think
I want to add, Luis, on Virgin Islands case, it can get complicated. I remember when in 2017, when hurricanes Irma and Maria came, they were devastated by Irma.
Mm-hmm.
So all Puerto Ricans, lots, were taking their boats, bringing stuff to the islands. And 2 weeks later, we got hit by Maria. So there was no help whatsoever for them or for us. So, we're here isolated, and it gets tough.
Yeah, thank you. A quick perspective, everybody buys paper, I think. A box of paper, you buy it anywhere, it'd be $30 somewhere around there, or even cheaper in a lot of states. When I go to U.S. Virgin Islands, we buy supplies, it's $80 a box of paper. So you can see how that's a quick perspective, but on farming supply, it does the same thing. So thank you, Commissioner Nelson. So, Aníbal, from Mr. Stafford, from the university perspective, I'm curious about the challenges on training the new professionals that will serve in these capacities to move us forward with these challenges of extension, research, and so forth. So, Aníbal, can you expand on those challenges?
Yes, we also have many challenges that the secretary and the other panelists said before. In the university, I want to talk about two main challenges, and the first one, I think that is the biggest challenge that we have in Puerto Rico is food security. We only produce 15% of the total food that we consume, and it's a very complex problem that needs to be addressed from different perspectives and approaches. And we also, for those who visit Puerto Rico for first time, we are a small island. Our main island is 100 miles long and 35 miles wide. And we have limited...
¿Te apagó?
Yes?
Talk now. Talk.
No sound.
Can the people in the back hear him? Can you talk, Aníbal?
Okay. You hear me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have limited land resources, and we need to adopt conservation practices. And in that process, we need to guarantee the future generation that we are going to provide them the quality and the appropriate amount of land for making agriculture, quality agriculture. And I want to make, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to mention another challenge, and it's the virtuality. Because the pandemic, we are focused and in charge of education in the university. And 2 years ago, the pandemic came, and we need force to move to virtual education. And not everybody had the proper skills to manage virtuality, including faculty members. So to address that, the first thing that we did is to train and provide tools to our faculty members to move to virtuality. And it was a very hard challenge because professors that spend 30 years teaching conventional way, it's very hard to move into virtuality. And then, in the other hand, people, especially communities in vulnerable places, have other challenges, and they didn't have also the necessary skills for the virtual education process, and many of them don't have internet access. So it was very, very hard to us in the university to improve and to provide the quality of education that everybody needs. So we are working on that. As the secretary mentioned earlier, we have strike by Irma and Maria 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And then came the earthquakes in the southwest part. That we're still shaking in the southwest. I'm from Cabo Rojo. And now the pandemic. So Puerto Rico is being across difficult times. Well, we are working on that.
Thank you, anyone. At least we're wearing pants now. We were back to formal meetings, and that works out. So,
yeah.
I think Aníbal didn't mention it, but also, when you think about people working from their home, their energy bill and everything like that, just so you're aware, we pay about 27 cents a kilowatt hour. Most states are paying $14.47 is the average. And if you go to agriculture, they can lower that all the way to $7. So it's really a challenge for a lot of the farmers, the university, the department, at those high costs to kind of interact with people. So I think that's a critical challenge. Mr. Stafford, same question, but I want you to add maybe, and we see this in every state, the interest from the younger generation on working in farming. How do we see that in U.S. Virgin Islands?
Good morning. I guess the good thing about being the last person on the panel to address this is that I can easily say that most of what I had in mind to say has been said already, and just agree with it. But before I answer the question directly, it's sitting here and hearing from Puerto Rico and what I heard before about, you know, it's kind of interesting for us to hear Puerto Rico being mentioned as a small island compared to our size. And the challenges we have are similar, and I think to a greater extent for us, as the Secretary was mentioning, that in the Virgin Islands we do depend on a lot of imports that are coming into the islands, are actually coming out of Puerto Rico, as he said that they were helping us between the storms some years ago. But we've had at the University of the Virgin Islands, our School of Agriculture is fairly new. We have had the Extension Service and the Experiment Station. We just celebrated 50 years of being a land-grant university. But the academic program, it was started and then stopped, and then 2 years ago, the School of Agriculture was formed, getting the academic program up and running again. And that coincided with some lingering challenges from the hurricanes. As was mentioned, from 5 years ago, our research facilities are still not being repaired. Since the hurricane, we're working with FEMA, and it takes a long time to get things done in the island. So along with that, the pandemic, and as I was thinking about the challenges related to agriculture, and specifically from the standpoint of the university and the effects of climate change and pandemics, one of the issues that we had is a lot of persons, because of the conditions in the islands following the hurricanes, a lot of persons left the Virgin Islands. In fact, the census that was conducted in 2020 showed a 20% reduction in the population in the Virgin Islands. How does that affect the university? A lot of persons left to go to the United States to go to school, so enrollment in the high schools are much reduced, so graduates are also reduced. Potential students for the university is also reduced, along with the fact that the university also lost students of the persons who left the territory. So the impact on the university from those type of events is very significant.
Yeah, it's a challenge for all of us to bring those professionals back well-trained.
I want to address that. From that, we have the same in the 2010 census. We have a projection for the 2020 that we are going to be in the island around 4 million, more or less, people. And right now we are 3.2, so we get a little bit short for 800,000 people. So it's the same that you have.
Yeah.
Can I just add one?
Yeah.
And as it relates to the cost of utilities, heard Mr. Arroyo said 27 cents in Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands is closer to 50 cents per kilowatt. So if you think about the cost of utilities in an impoverished island where people are trying to live, it makes it even more so complicated and expensive.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, I hope you understand some of our challenges. Now we're going to move a little bit to opportunities, things that we're doing that are successful. And I'm going to go the other way around to give Mr. Stafford some pioneering chance. So, Mr. Stafford, what do you see as conservation opportunities that exist within your organization, and how does the university leverage those opportunities?
Well, some of the opportunities from the university standpoint is the challenges that are being faced due to, let's say, climate change in particular. The opportunities to expand the academic offerings at the university to include majors, say, related to climate science, data science, connected to agriculture. So that is one opportunity. Others include research, again, with a focus on the effect of climate change, looking at crops and livestock production, selecting varieties that are adapted breed of livestock. And as had been mentioned, with water, it is a big problem. And we know that with the changes in rainfall patterns and high temperatures, we have to focus on research and education in the efficient use of water, conducting more research on irrigation. And I know the commissioner mentioned the cost of electricity, but the cost of water is also very expensive in the Virgin Islands.
And just for everybody's awareness, most of the water in the Virgin Islands comes from desal. They have a desal plant that serves most of their locations, and a lot of the population also sometimes fear the total quality, and it's used for certain purposes. And then everybody collects water, which is something that we need to start here in Puerto Rico also. Aníbal, from the University of Puerto Rico, opportunities and things that we can do to leverage more work.
Yes, I want to talk about the opportunities. Climate change requires from us that we plan, research, and formal and non-formal education address to work with the challenges that we have. And at the land-grant university, we are the only land-grant in Puerto Rico, so we have the main responsibility for that. So I want to talk about the three components of the College of Agriculture. It's research, outreach, and faculty. And in research, we have 6 agricultural experimental stations. And right now, we are involved in several initiatives to investigate conservation practices, soil quality, water management, precision agriculture, animal waste management, and irrigation optimization. In the part of faculty, in undergraduate and graduate education, we have several courses that promote or educate our students on the best practices for conservation and management. So when our agronomists graduate, they can apply those practices on the field. We also have master programs in soil sciences, agronomy, horticulture, among others. And hopefully next year we start our new program, PhD program in tropical agriculture. That program in particular, we have an area of emphasis in soil and water resources. In the outreach part, the extension service, we are promoting the adoption of sustainable practices to improve the resilience in our vulnerable communities. We are working on workshops, field days, including demonstrations and participate activities because we know that have a positive improve in the adoption of these practices. We know and we recognize that we need more demonstration on soil profiles. We are short on that kind of stuff. And I want to mention other challenges that we have in the university with the research part focuses on water quality and soil management. We need to improve, and I know that the secretary is compromised on that, to have more availability of the meteorological station to collect more data for the benefits of the agriculture and the farmers. And at the same time, we need to work in the improvement of the capacity of our water reservoirs. Most of them don't have enough capacity due to the erosion, and we have many problems with the contamination for human activities. So we need to work on that. And finally, but not least, we need to improve the record keeping with our farmers. It's the only way that they are going to have more tools to make better decisions in the everyday operations, so they can manage and work better with the fertilization, waste management, and other stuff. And the last thing that I want to mention, and for me is the most important at the land grant, is we have a lack of teaching, research, and extension faculty member. And we have, as a land grant university, we have a duty with the country and with the people. And to fulfill that kind of responsibilities, we need more staff, especially on conservation, on water management, on soil specialists, agroforestry system, and all the stuff that bring us together in that meeting. So we are working on that to improve and to try to give better choices to our farmers every day.
Making some notes for agreements. These two partners with the university are critical for what we do in CIG, the Conservation Innovation Grants. There's a lot of things that we have as an agency as far as standards, but we always have to Caribbeanize them. And with the help of the university, we're able to do that. So we're always very grateful for what both universities do for us. Again, talking about conservation opportunities, we're going to go into both departments of Ag. I'm going to start with Positive Nelson.
I believe this creates, can you hear me okay? I believe this creates opportunities for partnerships for us. Mike, hello? Yeah, then they pull it over some. Okay, I think I'm good now. I'll just hold my jacket flat. This creates opportunities for partnerships, sometimes uncommon partnerships, because we have to, these days are days which is calling upon our creativity. So what may not be a usual partner, you might find to be an excellent partner because you had to rethink what it is we're doing. Breaking old customs is also something we have, especially, you all know we in islands, we're a small town. If you run across these senior farmers who has done it this way because their grandparents did it this way and that's the way they've always done it, to try to get them to adapt new practices, it's like really teaching an old dog new tricks. But they say it's possible, but it's hard, it's complicated because they're stuck in their ways. So you have to rely on the science, you have to rely on getting new inflow of farmers, which is a challenge because most young people don't see farming or agriculture as a career that can gain yields. I mean, it's a misconception, but we have to make it attractive to them. And that's where our challenges come in. I believe as we talk about tax credits, we need to, as policymakers, develop creative tax credits for people who utilize conservation practices and organic practices. You know, one thing I was going to ask the NASA rep, but I figured I'd hold that question is, the truth is big farms has affected the environment in a serious way. And the truth is, in big farms utilize a lot of pesticides and other things that's not good for the environment or good for our bodies. So how can we encourage those who want to practice organic practices without it breaking their pocket? Because to be organic, it costs more. So that's where the government, with policies, has to come on board to give credits to those individuals who want to produce healthy food. Because we all know it. It's better to spend less money up front on good food, good healthy food, than to spend money in the end at the doctor's office, where they're going to give you a bunch of meds to try. And I said try because food should be our first medicine. I want to say that again. Good food should be our first medicine. If you're not eating good healthy food, if you're not drinking good clean water, you can go to the gym 20 days a week, 20 hours a day. It doesn't matter. is your intake. So that's where I believe the responsibility of people producing food, the government, and those surrounding that industry are to see to it that we have a healthy start. And that's where I believe policies come in to help individuals make it happen.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think we all have seen that, right? The cultural changes in farming, and we lived it with no-till, right? It took us quite several years to move the ball in no-till, and now in cover crops, and it's moving faster than it used to be. But it takes all of us in community and partnership and engaging with the community and gain their trust. So,
And I had one more.
go ahead.
And you heard Mr. Crossman talk about that brain drain that's happening, and because the jobs, especially in agriculture, aren't paying that well in the islands. Well, when we have organizations like the NACD and the NRCS, we want for you to put some of those experts in the island itself. It's good that you can come in and help us do the work, but it's even better if we can develop individuals from in the islands, and more sustainable, by the way, to do that work and earn that salary.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. I know we're gonna get there. Last, Secretary Gonzalez.
Thank you. Commissioner, definitely I had the bad medicine because see how I ended up.
God,
And I'm going to a gym. So. I think we know the challenges that we all have. And I think the best tools that we have to address them is each other. From what I've heard here, we all have the same challenges and we have the answers. So we must stick working together as one, because if we go on our own way, we won't solve the problems.
Agreed.
I think we're living times in which, in Puerto Rico and in the States, with all the climate challenges we're facing, water shortages, we need to rearrange agriculture in the island. And I mean rearrange, we're at the moment looking at where is everything planted and where it should be. And we're going to move it. Because all the incentives and subsidies that the Puerto Rico Department of Agriculture has, we're going to put into the crops or the production that we think is appropriate. So in the South, we know we don't have enough water, and we're growing things there that should be grown in the North Coast. So we're going to start moving them. For the dairy and beef cattle, we're improving the pastures. We need to reduce the amount of grain that we import and produce better and cheaper milk and beef. So we're involved in trying to move farming in Puerto Rico around 180 degrees. And from what I hear from the university, they're on the same channel. So we must stick working together. NRCS has been a huge, huge hand for us. So we're going to increase whatever we're doing right to change agriculture in Puerto Rico and change that proportion of the imports and the local production. We're going to do it. We have the commitment, and we count on each of you.
Couldn't agree more. And I haven't paid for any of those messages. Well, just so we're clear, Chief. Yeah, I think when it comes to conservation, something that you should be aware also, the department has the Puerto Rico Land Authority here in Puerto Rico. So when we're talking about moving production, it's just those designations of the public lands are going to be shifted around to match the new climate reality. So I think that's a very smart strategy. With that, I think we got a couple minutes left, so we're going to open it for take-home messages pretty quick. We're going to start with Commissioner Nelson and then go down the line, and then hopefully we have time for one or two questions from the audience. So, Commissioner Nelson, take-home messages.
The take-home message is simple. We're stronger together. If we put our heads together, we learn from best practices and just commit ourselves, we can make it too. The truth is, like I told someone just last evening, individuals have been living in these areas for hundreds of years. With technology on our side, we should be able to do it better and smarter. We just have to keep talking. Some people have done what we're trying to do already. We just need to see what they've done and see if we can replicate that here in our territory, and of course, continue to build the bridges between our island nation. Us and Puerto Rico are the only two U.S. Designations in this whole Caribbean. We also need some, maybe talk to the U.S. custom states about being able to partner with our Caribbean islands. Us being the only U.S., we can't just go talk to St. Kitts or talk to Antigua without having some sort of state approval. So we need to work on those things, because as Caribbean neighbors, we're the closest to each other. We're able to help each other best in our time of need. And we're not saying we're not going to rely on the mainland as we usually do. But when time is of essence, you want to reach out to who's closest to you. Puerto Rico is 70 miles from the Virgin Islands, and then you have the whole archipelago of islands. And I sent a picture to Candace. I don't know if she'll be able to get it on there, but you will, if we can get it up, you'll see the little mountain tops that we sit on as islands, and most of us are underwater. And I particularly want you to see it, because you'll see where St. Croix, on both sides of St. Croix are some very, very deep waters, some of the deepest in the world. So that even makes it more challenging. I just wanted to point that out. The take-home message is, let's work together, we'll make it. 5 fingers, 1 fist.
Mr. Crossman?
Yes, I'll say 3 things. The pressure on agricultural land, water, forests, and biodiversity will increase. Partnerships with our State Department of Agriculture and federal agencies like NRCS are very critical. Investment will be necessary. Business as usual investments in agriculture are unlikely to sustainably improve agricultural productivity, ensure a sustainable natural resource base, and address climate change and the intensification of natural hazards.
Thank you. Aníbal?
I agree with Nelson. Most of the thing that he said is the real thing that we have also. So, but I want to mention 2 things. 30, 40 years ago, nobody or only few people talks about climate change or talk about the limited national resources. As extension agent 40 years ago, my college made some recommendation about fertilization and the use of water, thinking about the resources are limited. We were wrong. And right now we have a great responsibility. We need to address that, and to guarantee that the future generation we have the quality of resources, water, soil, and air. So it's a big challenge. And I agree that we need to work together. The initiative, the programs, education need to move in the same directions. Right now, we are against time. Everybody is connected. Everyone wants the information in real time. So when a farmer calls the university or an extension office, they want the answer immediately. And not necessarily is the same every time we can do that. So the university, the land-grant college, have a responsibility to research, to evaluate the recommendation that we are going to promote and to incorporate in our farms. So it's a real challenge, because we need to use the scientific base every day. And YouTube, Facebook, social media is a great competition. And sometimes when you visit the farmers, they are doing things that they learn on the internet, and aren't they doing well. So it's another challenge. So I agree with Nelson again. We need to work together. So science, if we study history, the human race are very successfully in the collective. So thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Secretary Gonzalez again to take us home.
Thank you, Luis. I think we all agree that we must work together. We need change. And change is done by working together, walking in the same direction. We know the challenges. We know the tools that we have. So we must work together. We must see what the neighbor is doing that is going to affect us, what we are doing that can affect the neighbor. As neighbors, as countries, as islands, we must work together to make that change.
Excellent. So with that, it seems like we don't have more time, so we're going to close it right here. Again, hopefully this gave you a snapshot of our challenges, our similarities, and the take-home messages to continue to work together. I think we can all get behind that. So again, we thank you for your time. We thank you for being here, for listening to us, for coming to learn with open minds. And again, Michael, we appreciate everything that you're doing with NACD, and we always look forward to continue to do these meetings, Puerto Rico, eventually U.S. Virgin Islands, and we'll go everywhere we need to be so we can continue this going on. So again, thank you very much. Help me thank our panel today. Have a great rest of the day.
Well, let's thank our panel and moderator one more time. So now we're getting down close to the first section of our session this morning, and I want to invite up a friend that has been a friend to Iowa, been a friend to many places, and now is chief of our NRCS. So Chief Cosby was appointed to serve as chief of the United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources Service in May of 2021. As all many good things that happen begin in Iowa, Terry began as a student trainee in Iowa, but his roots do run deep. He was raised on a cotton farm with 8 siblings in Tallahatchie County, Mississippi. His love for the land began at an early age. As NRCS chief, Terry oversees over the 3,000 NRCS offices and their employees across the United States. NACD's partnership with NRCS is crucial for advancing our conservation and efforts. It is my distinct honor to welcome Chief Terry Cosby.
Hey, good morning. So, are we ready to go on a journey? Now, last night, I am out of a lot of money right now trying to buy all of those videos back. I have never seen Twitter light up so much. So I got a feeling that those things are going to show up in some places that really don't need them. And it's great to be here this morning. And it was hard to sleep last night thinking about where that was going to show up at. But thank you for the opportunity to be here. It is great just to see a lot of you in person and have some folks here. First, what I'd like to do is introduce you to my key staff in Washington, D.C. with me right now. And if they just stand up real quick and wave, Louis Aspey, who is the Associate Chief, he's standing at the back of the room. Alyssa Cherney, the Chief of Staff at NRCS. Alyssa, stand up and wave at everybody. Alyssa's Chief of Staff. And then our regional conservationists. Astor Boozer is somewhere. Astor is the RC in the west. James Tillman, the RC in the southeast. And I have two folks that I pulled in to be acting to help me. Karen Woodridge, where are you? Karen is in the northeast. And then Javier Montoya is in the central. So it's great to have them all this morning. And I know that a lot of my colleagues around the country are listening in this morning. So good morning to all of you out there. And again, it is great to be here. Look, we got here on Friday, landed. We had a little issue getting here, you know, airlines and the travel and everything that's going on right now. But as soon as we got here, we have felt nothing but welcome from the folks here. Luis met us at the airport and got us here, and then he took us on a great tour on Friday afternoon. Now, I will tell you that my staff has been trying to figure out how to get sand between their toes because, and I reminded them that there's a Home Depot close to them when they get back. Because we're here working, but maybe they'll get an opportunity to get out and do some things. But it's been wonderful just being here and seeing a lot of you friends and reacquainting ourselves with others. You know, this morning's session has been incredible just to hear from our partners around the country, and also the gentleman that was just here, the relationship that we have with NASA. And I met with some of the staff at NASA last week to talk through things, and this partnership is important, and it is key to the success of all of us. It is key. Now you're going to hear some buzz things from me this morning, but the main thing is it's just great to be here in person, because we thought at one time that we were going to have to videotape this or have this, but we worked it out, and we're here. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you, NACD. The other thing is, folks, you have some incredible leaders at NACD. That Michael will wear you out. And we chat and we text and we talk, and it's just great that the friendship that we have formed, the two, he and I, and then Jeremy and Rich and the whole team there, and then that lady named Jennifer. Real treat. And it's great to be able to work with those folks. You have a great leadership team. Never underestimate the work that they do on your behalf as districts. Never underestimate that. And maybe sometimes you don't see it, but it's happening, and I see it happening. You know, we have some special anniversaries that we've been celebrating, and one I'd like to recognize is the Nebraska Natural Resources Conservation District, who are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. Anybody here from Nebraska? Congratulations. You know, I think it was mentioned that I started my career in Iowa 43 years ago. And I'm supposed to get this return response. You don't look that old. Come on, work with me. Come on, you're supposed, okay, hey, good deal. But 43 years ago, I was a freshman at Alcorn State. Y'all call it Alcorn? It's Alcorn. All right, let's get that right, because if you were in the audience there in Mississippi, they would correct you really quickly. But, you know, I started that career, and my career started with districts. I spent a lot of time with a district technician, learning the scientific part of what we do. And to this day, I can still do those things. I can hear his voice in my mind talking about, you have to gain the trust of these producers. And by doing that, they will trust you, and they will let you on their property, and they will do what you ask. And that resonates and holds true to the day, that you have to gain trust, and it's all about relationships. And that's what brings us together, is this relationship, this special relationship that we all have with each other. I'd like to get into a little bit about the agency's priorities. And some people call them the chief priorities, that's fine. But these are the agency's priorities. Folks, let's talk a little bit about, and I know this topic sometimes get people a little nervous when I start talking about equity. You know, if we can build equity into everything that we do, everything else is pretty simple and pretty easy. And I want to talk about this as our first priority at NRCS, and as we implement our programs and services. You know, we know that there has been a lot of historic barriers over the years that has plagued us. We are working very hard to tear down those barriers, so we have people that can walk into the office, feel comfortable that walking into the office, and they can participate. Another thing you're going to hear me talk about a lot is every acre counts. Every acre counts, no matter where it is out there. You know, sometimes we get into this habit, we work with the people that walk through the door. We don't want to go out and create all of this new business. We're going to have to do that if we're going to change and fix this climate problem. So whether you're in urban America or rural America, every acre counts. You know, we're going to have to improve on our communication. You know, people communicate differently today than what they did when I came in so many years ago. How do we communicate with the folks out there that need our assistance? One of the other things that we're doing is we're investing a lot of money in training. And I've heard it very clearly from a lot of you is that please don't forget about the partnership when you're doing this training. I've heard it very clearly. And so I'm challenging my team, when we're doing this training, make sure we are making it available to all out there that part of this conservation family. You know, we're very proud of the extra efforts happening in the field in all the regions. And so I want to recognize, as I go through this, I want to recognize a few states. This morning I want to go to the Central region and recognize Texas. In the equity arena, Texas Small Farmers and Rancher Community-based organization is partnering with NRCS to educate, build trust, and increase the conservation practice adaptation among historical producers. They are hosting workshops to introduce the underserved producers to NRCS programs and policies. They develop outline training videos, and they will be hosting a field day to demonstrate NRCS conservation programs. Any folks here from Texas today? Thank you for the work that you're doing there in Texas. I want to move over to the Northeast in New Hampshire. NRCS and partner staff have worked hard to reach out to new and underserved producers across the state. The number of applications across the state doubled in FY21, and I was the acting state conservationist in New Hampshire for about a year back a long time ago. And I'm telling you what an amazing, amazing amount of work that they're doing. Anyone here from New Hampshire? All right, I can see the hand back there. You know, the other thing is new and beginning farmer champions and teams are also conducting outreach, and NRCS outreach coordinators have been presented on NRCS technical and financial assistance. As I said, if we can get the equality in all the programs, and folks, equity means a lot of things. It's not just race issues. It is equity in all of our programs to make sure that they're accessible to anyone that wants to participate. Once we can do that, we can start talking about implementation of some of these other things. And I want to move on to the climate smart agriculture, which is the next priority I want to talk about a little bit. You know, that is to increase assistance for climate smart agriculture and forestry to support producers in mitigating climate change and building resiliency across their operations. A lot of talk had a lot of talk about that over the last couple of days. I'm learning a lot of new things. And you know, with that comes, we have financial and technical assistance from NRCS. We know that those producers on the ground, the farmers and ranchers out there, have the ability to do this. They want to do the right thing, but we've got to make sure that we're providing sound scientific information to them to get this job done. And we all have to be on the same page. My staff can't be there one day and someone else is there the next day talking about something totally different. We all got to get on the same sheet of music. That includes us, you, and the NGOs, and anyone that wants to be out there on the landscape doing this. We have to all be on the same page. You know, I want to give a shout out to Indiana right now. Anybody from Indiana? There we are back here. You know, according to the recent conservation survey, Indiana farmers planted an estimated 1.5 million acres of overwinter living cover. That matches the 1.5 million acres they planted last year. That is tremendous. That 1.5 million acres equates to about 819,000 tons of CO2 sequestered. Just think about that. 1.5 million acres. Just think about if we had a conservation practice, at least one, on every field in this country. At least one. Just think about what we could do for this climate agenda. Also, the Indiana Conservation Partnership, of which NRCS and the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts are members, they have a project called the Conservation Cropping System Initiative of Indiana. And this is helping them just to do that great work out there. And this is through a farmer-focused, farm-driven process. We talk about locally led. We have to have the local folks involved in everything that we do if it's going to work. That is part of the local led process, and we talk about that a lot. And I talk about that a lot when we're in these meetings and trying to talk about how do we implement Farm Bill programs and get the work done. It's got to be locally led. You got to find those early adopters out there in those counties, or people of like mind, to really carry this message. And I think we have those champions out there across the country that are doing this and helping us in every type of way. You know, in the next year, we are very excited about several critical climate smart and ag forestry efforts at NRCS. Some of the things that you're going to be seeing is we're going to be updating and streamlining implementation of our core Farm Bill programs. We meet all the time to talk about how do we make these programs more accessible, and how do we take out some of the things that rub people the wrong way, filling out 20,000 forms and all these type of things. We're talking about that. How do we make these programs a little more streamlined? Then on the soil carbon monitoring efforts, this is a department-wide thing, and we're hoping that you're going to help us with this. We're going to be developing these tools and talking about it. You know, we talk about adaptation and we talk about measurements. The American public wants to know, what is our investment accomplishing? We're going to need help when we're talking about looking at how do we monitor and how do we report back on what these accomplishments are. The next thing is urban agriculture, and I talk about area accounts. I think a lot of you know that I've been really heavily involved in urban agriculture as a state conservationist there in Ohio, working in Cleveland back in 2012. You know, we started on a journey, and I am just so pleased of where we are, and becoming the chief of NRCS and able to influence urban agriculture, and then it being assigned under NRCS to run that for the department. We recently hired an urban ag director. Our director came over from the Foreign Ag Service, has a lot of international experience, great gentleman. He's going to be running that office. We're staffing that office. The other thing you're going to see out across the country is the establishment of these urban offices. We're pretty excited about that. We have 17 locations identified right now. There might be more. With that comes a staff and an office and an urban county committee. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that, but it is pretty exciting to be a part of urban agriculture right now. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening there. Anybody here from Virginia? Hey. Let's go down to the southeast. The city of Richmond has been an urban ag testing ground for many years with Virginia NRCS supporting these efforts. The city is a pilot for the UFSA Urban Ag County Committee. Those committee folks are going to be selected from that geographic area where those offices are going to be located. I am asking you, please, to reach out to those folks once they're selected, let them know who NACD is in this partnership, and bring them into the fold, because they're going to be a key part of this agenda to get this work done. You know, districts, as I said, will be key members in helping with this agenda. I know that a lot of the districts have very aggressive, very good ag movements or urban movements in a lot of these urban areas. We want to partner with you on this. So as these offices are established, and we are hoping that we are able to do that. I want to move over to Indiana in our Central region. The Urban Soil Health Program is a partnership between Indiana Natural Resource Conservation Service and the Indiana Association of Soil and Water Conservation District. This program was established, and the goal is to promote a systematic approach to urban and small-scale agriculture. One of the challenges that I've issued to my team is that we got to do more for small scale. You know, a lot of things we do has been on the larger scale in the rural area. How do we accommodate, or how do we make recommendations someone that's got 1/10 of an acre that wants to do this? We have to be able to design those conservation measures and practices to meet that need. So that's something that we're going to be working on. That's something I have not talked to Michael and Jeremy a lot about, is a small scale thing that we need to be doing, but that's something next on the agenda, is how do we do that? And then, being here in Puerto Rico, some of the things that we saw on Friday night, they were able to participate, and I think you all know that here last year we did an announcement, or a NOFA, for outreach and education with a few dollars that we had in NRCS. We were able to sign 118 agreements for this. You know, one of the things I'm seeing is with those dollars is that we've infused a lot of these local communities, and that we're getting the word out that conservation works. And I'm hoping that we all can partner to do that. We hope that we can find a way to do this after the 1st of October again, that we're looking at how do we make sure everyone knows about what we do. How do we communicate that? How do we work on that? But Puerto Rico, one of the organizations here, was one of the first to get one of those awards, and we're seeing some amazing work. So Luis, our state conservationist here, you know what? This young man is one of those talents that he ain't gonna be able to stay here on the island very long, as long as if I'm around. He got talents that could go other places, but I know he's doing an incredible job here. And he's in the right place at the right time, and that's something I borrowed from Mr. Tillman. He talks about that all the time, is right place, right time. Sir, you're doing an outstanding job here, and thank you. And I see I'm about to get the hook. I could go all day. I got 15 minutes, but I'm going to take 20. All right. And then our workforce. You know, we have this amazing workforce out there across the country. All of us. It works better when you can walk into an office and you have no clue who works for who. Those folks are there to assist. And I know this last couple of years have been tough with the pandemic and trying to do that. But folks, I've said before, we are better together than we are apart. We have to figure out, remember, locally led, if there's those issues out there, those folks need to be sitting down and talking about it and working it out, local. Because if I have to get involved, the leadership at NACD gets to get involved, then there's winners and losers. If you're able to talk about these issues at the local level and work them out, it's a win for all of you. Local, locally led. And I'm going to wrap this up. Last thing about partnerships. Look, it's all about relationships. We have a great relationship with NACD. Look, we all know that this agency was born out of districts, if you know your history. And I used to teach that for NRCS. You know, our first chief, Hugh Hammond Bennett, what an extraordinary man. To have the foresight to see, he still sees what we're doing. He talked about this 80, 90 years ago, that this was going to happen. The synergy that we have right now, this is the moment that we have to all rise to the occasion. When will we get another opportunity like this one? When? I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime. We have an opportunity to make a difference. I keep telling my team, we used to be sitting on the step looking in the door or looking in the house. We're in the house now. And it's time for us to get together, get this work done, and we have to remember every acre counts, every producer out there, anyone that's part of agriculture counts. We got to figure out how to bring them into the fold to get this work completed. Folks, I've met some amazing people here this last couple of days. I am just so glad I could be here. But we have a lot of work to do. Again, we're better together than we are apart. Let's continue this great work. Let's continue this conversation. Continue to support your leadership at NACD. By doing that, you make NRCS better. We are a great team. Thank you for giving me just a few moments this morning. I could stand here all day. And as you can see, I didn't lose when I get excited, I start to lose my voice. I'm excited, but I didn't lose it. I've been working on it all morning. But thank you for the partnership. Thank you for the incredible employees that you have out across this country that are helping on this agenda, whether it's climate, whether it's equity. And one of the most important ones is the partnership that we all have in this journey that we're going to be on for a while. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning, and I just can't tell you how glad I am to be here.